Janet and I have a friend down in Taos, New Mexico, who has a small gallery that sells some vintage serapes, and he's looking for a way to display those in his shop. And he sent a drawing of a design for a hanger that would mount on the wall, and his started off with a piece of curved angle iron. Now, angle iron is really hard to curve in this direction, and I don't know that I really like the results. We could certainly do a neater job of it, but this is just kind of a prototype to get an idea of what the design works like. And I wasn't real clear what he wanted to actually hang the serape on. So he hasn't seen this yet. We're going to have to get this to him and let him take a look at it. But I think I can do better. My second version of it starts with a piece of 3/4 inch square bar that is then tapered and goes to a round hanger. I like this one a whole lot better. It has a diamond back plate on here, and I think it looks better, but I'm still not sure if this is the best design. So today I thought I would do another variation of this. Still going to start with a 3/4 inch square bar. Still going to use a 5/8 round bar for the thing the serape actually hangs on. But I'm going to see if I can do a little bit different thing over here, maybe a rectangular back plate, just for some ideas. Quite often this is the process you have to go through, not only to find a design that you like as a blacksmith, but that the customer likes when you're making something that's going to go into their retail space. This version started off with 8 inches of 3/4 inch square bar. I'm going to do something a little bit different on this end to mount to a rectangular back plate. And this is sort of what I have in mind, although this is not the piece I'm going to use. The 1/2 inch square bar, or actually this was 3/8, just is way too light to my eye. Probably hold the serape up just fine. But I'm going to do something like this. So I'm going to go with about 8 3/4 inches of the square bar. So that's 20 millimeter square bar, and it's about 220 millimeters long. Again, I'm kind of prototyping. I'm going to write it down, keep notes so I know what I've done. If it's exactly right, then I know what to do the next time. If it's not quite right, I know where I started and where I can make changes. For the back plate, I'm going to use 1/4 by 2 by 6 inches. So that's about 6 millimeters by 50 millimeters, and it's just a hair under 160 millimeters long. The part for the shoulder, I'm going to use the same size I used for this one, which is 5/8, and it's 18 inches long, only because I happen to have some pieces 18 inches long laying out on the rack. So that's about 16 or 17 millimeters in diameter and about 460 millimeters long. Again, these are still test pieces. I'm going to take all 3 of these down, let him look at it, let him decide what he wants, specify changes, variations, and then I'll come back and make however many of these he needs. The heaviest forging in this is going to be drawing this out to put a nice graceful taper in it. So I think that's where we're going to start. Now you can certainly draw this out by hand over the horn of the anvils, but I own a power hammer, so we're going to go over there and finish this off. I just want to straighten that up a little bit and knock the sharp corners off of it. Now this is going to attach to that round bar, which I'll probably just weld on to avoid any snaggy rivets or seams where the tenon connects. But I want to put a 90-degree bend in there so it comes up from the bottom of the bar to attach. I think that should do the trick. Now I want to turn this around and use some half-face blows at the edge of the anvil to create that tongue that will be the mounting portion of this. I want this shoulder to be just as crisp as possible. So I'm going to put this in the vise and take a fuller and fuller down into there and push a little material out into that shoulder. The angle irons with rounded corners really help keep the vise from gouging up the material too badly. This technique actually comes from making wrapped eye axes so that you can get a nice clean weld at the inside of the eye. But it's going to help us here too. And this should leave us a much cleaner shoulder. The next step I want to do is just forge a simple bevel around the back plate. Tipping the piece so that the bevel is flat on the anvil and working from the back helps smooth out any hammer marks left in the front and leaves a smoother, crisper bevel line. Well, there's still a little heat left. I'll go ahead and touch mark this. For the bar that the serape actually hangs on, the coat hanger portion if you will, I want to make sure these ends are good and smooth, rounded off very nicely so that they can't snag anything. And for that I'm going to go to the belt grinder, start off with a 60 grit belt and finish up with a 220 grit belt. Things like this frequently end up a little bit out of line on the ends, but it's very easy to put it in the vise and just twist it to straighten it back out. By the way, the twisting wrench that I use for round bar is made out of a pipe wrench, so it's designed to grab something round, and that makes it a lot easier than just trying to grab it with vice grips or something like that. Now the original design shows this arch in the arm, and the one I forged is straight. So that's the next thing I want to do, is put an arch in here. I'm going to have to start by kicking it up a little bit right here where I put all that extra effort into getting the shoulder right. I think it's probably easier to get the shoulder nice and crisp to start with and then kicking it up a little bit and dealing with anything. If we push it that way some, it'll be easier to file that off. But if you're doing something like that, you might want to try it both ways. Trying to make this and this relatively parallel. I'm going to put a plug weld at the very top of this to make sure it's good and secure. So I've drilled a hole through the top of the back plate to facilitate that. I have countersunk the holes for my rivets so that these will be flush rivets, and I'm using a 1/4 inch rivet set cold. I'll just do a quick grind on the back of this to make sure the weld and the rivets are all truly flush. Black Bear Forge is sponsored by Combat Abrasives. Use the link in the video description and the coupon code BLACKBEAR10 for a discount on your next order. I've gone ahead and welded the hanger portion of this to the end of the arm. Now I just need to clean the weld up and make it all look neat. Well, this is just about done. Looks pretty good, except that it's got a little bit of a twist in it here, so the back plate and the arm aren't really lined up properly. That should be easy to fix. I'll take it to the vise, heat it up with a torch, and just give it a little bit of a twist in the proper direction, and we should be just fine. I went ahead and got this good and hot and then put a wax coating on it. In this case, I used beeswax just because I happen to have some sitting over there on the workbench, but paste wax would be just fine, any kind of finish you want on here. And because it's applied hot, it kind of burns into the surface. You wipe off any excess while it's still hot, and it does not leave a residue that's going to transfer onto the thing that's displayed on here. But now this needs to cool, and then I'll see if I can get some final pictures of it to post in just a few seconds here. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop. But be safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next video.